Hey everybody, it's Dr. Christine Kaczmar here. Welcome to episode 10 of Smart Digestion Radio. In today's episode, we're going to talk about canola oil. You know, olives make olive oil, coconuts make coconut oil, canola makes... Wait, what the heck is canola? Is there a canola nut? What the heck?
Time to get your enzymes working, or maybe even twerking. This is Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar, the podcast that is hip to all things digestion. And now, your host, Dr. Christine Kaczmar.
So today I want to talk about different types of hydrogenated oils, specifically canola oil and soybean oil. Starting with canola oil, there are two main reasons that you should steer clear of this terrible product. The first is that 90% of it, over 90% of it, in fact, is genetically engineered or genetically modified. The second reason is that canola oil is partially hydrogenated. And so let's talk about canola oil. Let's start with this one. It really comes from the word Canadian oil, can oil, okay? Canadian oil, canola, they made it. Canada invented it. I love Canadians, but this is one product that we don't want any part of. And back in the 1970s, the Canadians paid the U.S. government a lump sum of money, several $1 million, to tout this oil as safe. Of course, the Americans did it. The government did it. And in around 1986, the United States started selling this garbage, and the American public bought it. This was not around back in the 60s, because it wasn't even invented then. So in the mid 80s, there it was, canola oil, this new oil on the market, and everybody, took to it. Everyone bought it like crazy. We're baking with it, you name it, frying with it, all sorts of things. Enter Monsanto in 1995. Of course, there's going to be a Monsanto component to this. And they began to genetically engineer the canola oil. So that just made an already terrible product exponentially worse when Monsanto enters. And so now in present day, 2014, more than 90% of the canola oil is genetically engineered. But what I want to do now is back up. I want to talk about hydrogenated oil. Like what is the deal with hydrogenated oil anyways? Okay, so let's talk hydrogenation. A classic example of a hydrogenated oil is margarine. There are three main reasons why this is even done in the first place. And the first one is because it prolongs shelf life. As an enzyme nutritionist, I explain this to my patients all the time, which is, have you ever considered why tuna you can throw in a can and it'll last on your shelf in your grocery store for years? Well, the reason is because it extends shelf life because the enzymes in that product are removed. Similarly, hydrogenating oils makes them last longer on the shelf too. So that's reason number one, is that it prolongs shelf life. The second reason why hydrogenation is popular is because it makes the oil more stable and it raises its melting point. So that's the second reason. And the third is because this allows a wide variety of uses for processing and refining our food. So they're all kind of linked in together. It's basically greed. That's the main reason why this is done. It's definitely nothing for our health's sake. That's the sad thing. And the whole process of hydrogenation is simply forcing hydrogen gas into these oils at a high pressure. And any oil could be hydrogenated, but again, it's just something that shouldn't be done, but it's done because of money. So there you have it. That's the main basic summary of hydrogenation. Now, I want to talk to you about why it's so horrible. So when you consider hydrogenated oils, one of the things that is right in front when you mention that term is trans fats. And trans fats are found in the partially hydrogenated oils. They are not found in the fully hydrogenated, but that's not a good thing either. So once you tamper around and make this an unnatural man-made fat, which is essentially what any hydrogenated oil is, now you're tampering with Mother Nature. And back in the 90s, they started to find evidence that these types of trans fats and hydrogenated oils were affecting human health. Here are just a few bullets of health risk from hydrogenated oils. The first is cancer, and this is because it interferes with the enzymes in your body to fight cancer. That's not good. The second, chronic health problems such as obesity, asthma, autoimmune disease, bone degeneration. Next is diabetes by interfering with the insulin receptors, heart disease, interfering with your body's use of beneficial omega-3 fats, reproductive problems by interfering with enzymes again to produce sex hormones. the increase in blood levels of low-density lipoproteins, LDLs, or quote-unquote the bad cholesterol. There's really no such thing as a bad LDL or a bad HDL. They're necessary. When these levels are out of range, that's a whole different story, which that'll be an upcoming Smart Digestion Radio. But you could just go on and on with why these oils are not meant to be consumed. And it's because they are not natural. They have been created, they have been tampered with, and it's just not natural. And when you do that, it's not going to lead to good things, and it never can. So as usual, it takes mainstream medicine years and years and years to catch up with what's really going on. And it's just not surprising that the FDA probably knew about this well before they even told us. And so only until 2006 did the industry begin to really put viable alternatives in front of us. So it shouldn't have taken that long, but it did. So again, we have to look back at Monsanto for tinkering around with this genetically engineered chemical, and it's just what they do. So again, you want to look at the labels on your foods, and if the things you don't recognize, if there are things you don't recognize, if there's tons of ingredients, just put it back. As they say, when you go shopping, stick to the perimeter and you have a better shot. It's once you go down the middle aisles of a grocery store that these are the things that are in boxes, cans, packaged, which means that they've been refined, which means that the shelf life has to be something that is at the forefront of the mind of the creator of the product so that they have good profit. And just like butter, for example, butter is going to go rancid way sooner than any kind of margarine because butter is natural, right? It's still a living, normal product. And these oils just simply aren't. So what I want to do now is talk about soybean oil, because that is the other side of this coin. Canola oil, soybean oil, those are two of the worst possible oils ever to consume. So kind of looking back in the past, years ago, tropical oils like coconut oil and palm oil were commonly used in our country, America, but like anything else, a movement was spurred on for financial incentive, and the industry wanted to totally shift to something homegrown. Insert homegrown with man-made, okay? And so all of these tropical oils were then vilified. I mean, it was just an awful thing to consider eating the saturated fat. These saturated fats, coconut oil, they're going to clog up your arteries because, I mean, look at it in the jar. It's a solid, so it's going to do that inside of you. This is what people thought. And this lasted for decades. It's only until recent times that coconut oil is finally getting its due, and it's such an amazing thing. I am so glad for that. But there are several reasons to avoid soybean oil, even organic soybean oil. But let me just go ahead and cover a few of them. Number one, it has a ton of phytic acid. And so what phytic acids are, they're essentially anti-digestives. You'll see this in cans of beans. I tell this to my patients too. When you get a can of kidney beans or refried or pinto beans or whatever it is, you have to really make sure you're rinsing that product a ton under the faucet, because when you see that bubbling, that sudsiness, those are the anti-digestives. Those are the phytic acids. So you want to rinse clear until it's totally clear of any kind of suds. So soybeans have a ton of this as well. And these phytic acids, they prevent the absorption of certain minerals, such as calcium, magnesium, iron, also zinc. And these are essential for the biochemistry to create different types of enzyme processes and so forth. So that's a big problem. And in fact, a lot of vegetarians have an issue with this because they're eating so much soy, not even knowing that they're preventing their body from receiving these vital minerals such as calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. So that's the first reason to avoid soybean oil, phytic acid. The second reason is goitrogens. And these are even found in unfermented soy. So whether it's organic or not, you need to be careful of these goitrogens because they're going to affect the synthesis of thyroid hormones. And that then will in turn affect your iodine metabolism, and that's just not a good thing either. So thyroid function as a whole could be disrupted by consumption of soybean oil. Third are the isoflavones. And these are a type of a phytoestrogen. And so a lot of people think that they're doing something good for themselves during a menopause phase where they think by consuming soy that they're doing something great. This can be a very controversial topic, but it's just, in the literature I've looked at, don't see that this is something that supports health during menopause or any time thereafter. So more disturbing is that there is also evidence showing that these types of isoflavones and the soy and so forth actually hinders endocrine function and can create infertility, promote breast cancer, and so on. So just for that alone, steer clear of that too. And clearly, I couldn't leave out glyphosate in this mix because, as you know, and if you're a regular listener, which I so appreciate you, you know you've heard me talk about glyphosate, and this is a terrible chemical, mainly in Roundup. You've heard of Roundup. Everyone who knows of Roundup knows that it's something we shouldn't be using. And maybe I shouldn't say everybody knows that because everybody doesn't know that. But let me just say it for all who are on the fence, Roundup shouldn't be used. Glyphosate is something that is so toxic that it prevents so many factors of plant growth, and it can't be washed off. So the problem is they spray this chemical on the genetically modified crop, and our soy, sugar beets, wheat, all of this stuff is loaded with glyphosate. You just can't get it out of the plant, and it's just going to further hinder our health. I mean, there's links to DNA damage, developmental toxicity, neurotoxicity, reproductive toxicity, cancer, endocrine disruption. The list just goes on and on. And the other thing about glyphosate is that it totally wipes out your beneficial bacteria in your gut. So you want to talk about a digestion nuisance? Let's talk about glyphosate, because it's more than a nuisance. It is just absolutely a poison. So you gotta, no pun intended, round up the discussion of these oils with glyphosate. Okay, so what are the healthy alternatives then? Since canola oil is clearly out, there are 4 solid oil choices that I recommend. And the first one is extra virgin olive oil. I don't recommend cooking with this because it has a really low smoking point. It's not meant to be heated up, but it's fantastic for your salad dressings to mix it up with some vinegar or anything like that. Extra virgin olive oil, really, really super good for you, obviously. Anything from the Mediterranean diet, for the most part, it's thumbs up. Coconut oil would be number 2. Coconut oil is finally getting the credit it's been due, and the reason why it was suppressed in its benefit is because of mainstream marketing. It's what they wanted. They wanted people to not know about it, really. Thailand's the country that consumes more coconut than anyone else, coconut oil, and they have the best heart health. So there's absolutely nothing to fear with coconut oil. It is so good for you, but make sure that you get the unrefined source. Do not buy refined coconut oil. And when you smell your coconut oil, it should smell like a coconut. I remember one time, I love shopping at TJ Maxx. They have some great deals there. At any rate, I bought a coconut oil from there once, and I basically threw it out after one use. It didn't even smell like coconuts. It smelled like nothing. It looked like coconut oil. It was all white, saturated looking, but I just didn't trust that. So your coconut oil should smell beautifully coconutty, okay? That's what you want. So this is a good oil to cook with. It's great for pulling. Basically, pulling is if you kind of use coconut oil like a mouthwash, rinse around your mouth for like 20 minutes, and it really helps clean, sanitize, and get rid of debris in your mouth and in your tongue. I know it sounds weird, but do it. Give it a try. And then make sure that when you rinse it out, you're rinsing it out in your garbage, or just go ahead and spit it outside. Otherwise, you're going to clog up your drain in the shower or wherever you happen to be doing that. So make sure you get rid of it, not in your drains of your home. So coconut oil, fantastic uses. It's great for the skin, for dry skin. There's just so many things about coconut oil. Can't say enough about it. Next would be red palm oil. And this is to be made from the palm fruit instead of the palm kernel, but basically you want this to be in its unrefined state also. Very huge source of vitamin E and beta carotene. It should be orange. It's so good for you. Again, something that is not getting a lot of praise in the media, but again, when you think of media, don't necessarily think honest and accurate, truth-telling stories, because it's just not how it goes. And then lastly, some kind of a pastured butter or ghee. Those are some really fantastic ways to replace canola oil and soybean oil. To list them off again, we've got extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, red palm oil, and some kind of a pastured butter or ghee. Those are my choices to replace these oils that are more mainstream, like corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil. You got some great options with those 4, so I hope you enjoy. All right, that leads me to the next section of the podcast for episode 10, and that is this week's patient success story. And I want to thank Sasha for sharing. Have a listen to her story.
Hi, I'm Sasha. I'm 46, and I'm a current patient of Dr. Christine's. I've got Crohn's disease and a side issue of a fistula. I have been on every medication known to the Crohn's community. Either it doesn't work on me or I've had an allergic reaction to it. At this point, the westernized medical team has told me they don't know what else to do for me, and I've already had 2 bowel resection surgeries. My dad started researching, and he found Dr. Christine, and I've been working with her a few months. And although it took a lot of time and effort on my part, it has worked gangbusters. It is actually the only thing in the last 25 years that has worked for me, that I've actually seen positive results, as in increased energy, less going to the bathroom, everything firming up, not being nauseous, not being congested. I thought I had chronic sinus issues and allergies. Turned out it was from the gluten issues. So once we tested my protein, fat, and carbohydrate consumption, we found protein and fats were no problem. Carbohydrates were the issue. Even when I take gluten-free products, I still have to be very cautious and limit that. And I've also noticed that things that I wasn't allowed to eat before on the standard Crohn's plan, which is no fresh fruit or vegetables, and sticking to no grains and only white sugared things. Now I can eat things I love, like fruit and vegetables and Greek salad, and I can still have steak and potatoes. I've taken pork out, which wasn't a big issue for me. I've just found it took a while to get used to the diet and what I could and couldn't have, because it was an absolute flipping over. And once I got used to it, it really wasn't a problem. But if I do make mistakes, I definitely pay for it, and that's something that I just have to have the willpower to keep working at. So I would recommend anybody with Crohn's disease or colitis, she's cured my stepmom with that, to come in and see Dr. Christine.
Sasha, thank you so much for sharing your story in your words, in your emotions. Someone out there is going to hear your story, and perhaps they can get some help too. That's what I do. I love my job so much, and that is a fantastic story. And one thing I just wanted to jump on with what Sasha said is when she said something about her diet and it was just a flipping over of everything. What she meant there is that the medical community had been telling her all of these things to eat, things like flour and grains and all of the things that I completely took out. So I changed the things that they were saying. I mean, they didn't want her having fruits and vegetables. That was why she was so full of glee to be able to have a Greek salad and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure that came across, that the flipping over was complete opposite paradigm of what I wanted her to eat and what she was eating for those 25 years before that hadn't been working for her. So thank you so much, Sasha, for sharing that once again. If you would like to ask me a question, I have an app called SpeakPipe on my site. All you have to do is go to thedigestiondoctor.com, thedigestiondoctor, doctor is all spelled out, .com, and over on the right, you're going to see an orange tab. I would like you to ask me a question, and perhaps you could be featured on Smart Digestion Radio. And if we feature your question, I'm going to send you a Smart Digestion t-shirt. So I would love it if you would jump on and do that. And also, you can go ahead and email me a question if you like. And if I read your question on air, I won't use your last name unless you specifically want me to. Go ahead and email me a question, and you could email that to support@thedigestiondoctor.com. That would be fantastic. If you are interested in seeing these show notes, go over to thedigestiondoctor.com/10, and you can see all the references about the different oils and things like that I was talking about. Ask Dr. Christine Live. This is something that I've been doing for about a month now on Facebook. My Facebook URL is facebook.com/thedigestiondoc, DOC, only doc, not doctor, the digestion doc. And what I do is every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, hop on over to my site on Facebook, and I will answer your digestive questions live. So I would really enjoy having you over there. And I swear, the very final thing is, if you'd like to leave an honest review for me to let me know how I can improve, what you're enjoying about this Smart Digestion podcast, I would really appreciate that. Not looking for 5 stars unless you want to give that to me. Whatever the case is, I want to learn and grow and help serve you even better. That is my purpose in life. Head on over to thedigestiondoctor.com/iTunes. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you so much. I want you to have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Smart Digestion Radio with Dr. Christine Kaczmar. Have the most beautiful day.